All right, welcome to the show, y'all. We got a lot to get to today. So in just a second, is Trump having mini strokes? He's been gone. He's been hiding for a while. We haven't seen him in front of the cameras. He hasn't done a press conference in quite a while, longer than he's ever been since 2015. And so the question arises, is he having mini strokes? You got a lot of theories out there right now about his health. Everybody sort of understands that they're hiding something when it comes to his health. The question is what? And so it might be mini strokes. I'll break that down for you. Then we'll get to Trump plans a luxury resort in Gaza after the genocide and the ethnic cleansing. This is openly being discussed because we live in hell. Then we'll get to Israel has done another terrorist murder spree, this time in Yemen, and they've gone after the Houthi prime minister and his entire cabinet. We'll talk about that. We have an absolute revolt and rebellion happening at the CDC right now, with RFK Jr. pissing off everybody in sight, which is leading to mass resignations of important experts. We'll get to some new Epstein emails that dropped. That one's fun. And then later on, Joe Rogan is absolutely panicking because I think he realizes that Mark Maron's crusade against him is working. That now, his little crew over there in Austin, they're no longer the cool kids. In fact, they're pretty fucking lame. So Mark Maron is having quite an impact here. And we love to see Rogan squirm. We love to see him squirm, and that's exactly what happens. So we have all that and more. You guys know the drill. Everybody, please do me a big favor and subscribe to the channel. That helps out big time and costs you nothing. Support the show on Patreon. $2 a month, $5 a month, $7 a month. It goes a long way. And thank you to everybody who does support on Patreon. It makes a world of difference. You have no idea. Because remember, this is real independent media. I've never talked to an advertiser. I've never done an ad read before. Never talked to a billionaire. Never talked to a government. Never talked to a PAC, never talked to a think tank, none of that crap. It's all grassroots funded and the default ads on YouTube, and you guys make that possible. So thanks again for that. Also, support Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. That link is below. Have a lot of great interviews that we've done recently and coming up. And go subscribe to the Corn's World YouTube channel as well. You don't want to miss that either. We do live Kyle and Corn episodes. We try to do them every Monday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, where you guys can come hang out with us live. So don't miss those either. Corn's World, the YouTube channel. All right, now let's go ahead and dive into it. We got a lot to talk about here. So this guy named Adam Cochran, he describes himself as an independent investigative journalist, and he released a thread here which lays out why he thinks Trump is dealing with strokes at the moment. And that's why he's been gone, away from the cameras, for longer than he ever has been since 2015 when he came onto the political scene. That's a fucking decade ago, guys. That's a decade ago. He's hiding from the cameras. No press conferences. Most importantly, no talking to the cameras. All we get is these like photos from a distance, which look like those old pictures of like when you spot a Sasquatch in the woods. Some paranormal investigator has a picture of a Sasquatch from like 300 yards away. That's all we have now when it comes to Trump within the past week or so. So I forget, was it Tuesday or Thursday? You guys tell me, put in the comment section. Last time he was in front of cameras, it was either Tuesday or Thursday. And since then, he's been gonzo. He's been out of here. And everybody is sort of speculating and everybody sort of acknowledges, yeah, something's going on with his health and they're hiding it for a variety of reasons, not just the fact that he's been gone. But now we have at least one theory as to specifically what's happening. So he's going to lay it out here for us. He says the following. I believe there's growing evidence that the White House is covering up the fact that Donald Trump has been dealing with TIA strokes, TIA strokes, and that he likely had a more significant ischemic stroke this week. So let me just point out, TIA strokes, those are mini strokes. So this guy's saying he's had a bunch of mini strokes recently, and now he just had an ischemic stroke this week. Okay. Here we go. Let's start with the basics. TIAs are temporary blockages. You'll see symptoms like leg dragging, eye drooping, etc., but they resolve within 24 hours. Ischemic strokes leave a lasting impact but can range dramatically in scope and severity. TIAs precede an ischemic stroke in about 30% of patients and often result in long-lasting interventions to try and prevent any risk of a larger stroke. Now let's get to what paints this picture with Trump. So that's interesting. So in other words, he's had mini strokes, and so there was a 30% chance he was going to have a bigger stroke, and this guy's saying it looks like he may have had a bigger stroke. Okay. In March 2024, Ron Filipkowski notes that Trump has been dragging his right leg for a while. It's something we've seen him do on and off over the past year, but not super notable on its own. So this video, I've seen this one before. This one doesn't look that crazy to me, but I've seen other videos of him dragging his leg more than this. So he does his little dance, and then he goes to walk, and you'll see the right leg being dragged right there. Yeah. And there are multiple videos of him doing this at different times. This is one of the earlier ones from 2024 from Ron Filipkowski. Then in a Time magazine interview from right after the election, we see the first note of Trump's hand bruising. So this is right after the election, we see the first hand bruising. Once again, something people didn't think much of at the time. It comes up again during the Macron visit on February 25th, 2025, where Carolyn Levitt repeats the lie about it being from shaking too many hands. So here's, again, this is February, and he's got these bruises on his hands. February, okay. The next medical event we see is the president's annual physical report. Comparing the medication list to his old reports, we notice 3 new medications. Rosuvastatin, ezetimibe, however you pronounce that, and daily aspirin. Okay, so these are new. At first, I thought this might be normal medication for managing cholesterol, and I've certainly heard of preventative aspirin used in the past, but I decided to interview some heart specialists, and I'm glad I did. There are 2 general takeaways I've heard from multiple specialists. Daily aspirin is not recommended for prevention anymore. An aspirin regime is to treat something. Ezetimibe is a second-line medication not used for regular LDL treatment. That's cholesterol. Statins like rosuvastatin will manage cholesterol alone, whereas ezetimibe will be used as a second line if the patient is at high cardiovascular risk, such as prior strokes, heart attacks, or arterial disease. Then it's used for stroke prevention. Trump's previous medical reports claim his cardiovascular health is great and is on the statin, so he shouldn't need ezetimibe. But this also brings us to the aspirin. As it turns out, aspirin hasn't been advised as a daily course prevention method for a while. Daily aspirin no longer recommended to prevent heart disease. Some old doctors may still incorrectly prescribe it as such, but qualified medical staff who keep up with literature wouldn't. A daily aspirin dose is now used as a blood thinner for specific lines of treatment, including in managing ischemic strokes. Then in June, we see Trump's swollen ankles, and for the first time, the White House medical team is willing to admit he's got CVI. That's chronic venous insufficiency. His bruising is related to aspirin regime and shaking hands. They keep coming back to this claim, as aspirin does indeed make bruising easier. There are 3 problems with this claim. 1, bruising is seen on both hands, not just his dominant hand. So he had a bunch of bruising on his right hand, and then here it is, we saw it on his left hand when he went golfing. This is about, I want to say, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. The next problem, CVI is not a sudden onset issue, and swollen ankles is an intermediate symptom. An annual physical in April would have caught CVI back then if ankles were going to be swelling, and aspirin isn't a CVI treatment. But third, some of the bruising is monthly, usually around the 24th. Check the dates. It seems much more likely that the president is being monitored monthly for something and then also occasionally getting an emergency IV as well. So what does all this mean? When a patient has had a TIA, they have temporary symptoms, but would be started on aspirin, rosuvastatin, and ezetimibe to prevent future ischemic stroke risk, just like we see with Trump. The patient having a TIAs may have temporary symptoms for 24 hours afterwards, including face drooping, leg dragging, or trouble walking in a straight line. So here's Trump. And everybody was showing this interview. This is when he went to the Putin meeting in Alaska. He struggled to walk in a straight line. Watch, here we go. Watch this. They sped it up, of course, but look, as you can see, he's like sort of wobbling all over the place. Left, right, left, right. This is one of the symptoms of a mini stroke right here. Patients who experience very mild strokes that are not TIA, such as lacunar stroke or minor ischemic stroke, may have persistent but barely noticeable symptoms, causing drooping of the lip, eyelid, and eyebrow, which would be on the same side of a leg dragging symptom. So here it is, and you can see a little bit of a droop. Okay. And I think his features, you guys tell me if I'm reading too much into it, but if you look at his features here, compared to, what it was in 2015, 2016, there is like significantly more droop. Now, that could be because perhaps he lost a little bit of weight, and at this age, like your skin doesn't really get right back into place, so there's just droopage there. That's possible, or it potentially could be something more. If a patient under White House level medical care was seen having a stroke, they'd be scanned to rule out a hemorrhagic with the White House portable MRI, and then could receive alteplase, a clot-busting peripheral IV often given in the hand for elderly patients. If that patient was on aspirin for cardio risk management and or potential calcium blockers, we'd expect bruising of the hands and swelling of the ankles. Well, that's literally exactly what we have. So here's swelling of the ankles, and here's bruising of the hands. If they had a mild ischemic stroke, we'd expect the patient to be on bed rest for 24 to 48 hours, by 2 to 3 days able to take small or assisted steps, and the patient may have facial droop, flatter facial creases, or their mouth agape due to facial muscle weakness. Okay, when I read this the other day, this was the one where I went, all right, this guy might actually be onto something. And I'll show you why. Again, read this one more time. If they had a mild ischemic stroke, so that's what he's saying Trump probably had, we'd expect the patient to be on bed rest for 24 to 48 hours, by 2 to 3 days able to take small or assisted steps, and the patient may have facial droop, flatter facial creases, or their mouth agape due to facial muscle weakness. And look at this picture. This is one of the pictures that just came out of Trump, where the press pool was like really far away because they weren't allowing them near him, and they took pictures. Now, another interesting thing about this day is that they made it seem like Trump was going to go play golf. But all that happened was we got this one, just a couple pictures from when he gets into the car, or into the truck, the SUV, and then he, I guess, drives around, goes to the golf course, but there's no pictures of him actually playing golf this time. Every time he plays golf, there's always pictures of him actually playing. This time, there were no pictures of him actually playing. In fact, what's happening is the Republicans are recycling old pictures from when he played like weeks ago, or in some cases, they're using pictures going back to 2023, and they're using pictures of him in Miami, because you see palm trees everywhere, as opposed to in Virginia, which is where he would have played. So when you look at his face here, you tell me that doesn't fit the symptoms. That face does not look like Trump's normal face. It looks like something happened to him. And this guy's analysis, I don't know, it kind of adds up. It kind of adds up at the moment, if I'm being serious with you. He continues, even though they could walk at this time, speech and complex motor skills may still be recovering. And we notice Trump has oddly kept the press pool very far back from the White House and hasn't allowed them on the golf course. We also noticed that he was dressed the same as the last time he went golfing with Kai, and that MAGA influencers were given an old picture to circulate from January and his other golfing picture from June 27th. So again, they're all posting, President Trump he's out, he's playing golf, he's great, and they're using old pictures. Those same influencers were circulating a video of him in the same outfit, but that one came from June 29th this year. The next picture of him from today, from afar, with continued face droop, he once again spoke with no reporters before going golfing. And both times, reporters were confined to the tennis court out of view of his course instead of letting them take pictures like normal. None of this even gets into the other weird events this week, like J.D. Vance saying he's ready to, quote, take over, or his social posts seeming like they were written by interns. That's actually, now they're talking about Trump's social posts seemingly were written by interns. They're trying to copy Trump, but it's not quite right. Something's a little off with how they sound. So it's not actually Trump. It seems like it's not actually Trump. All right, more. But the motive is clear. They know Vance does not have the same hold over the base of the party nor the Republican Congress. If Vance was president, the administration would get far more pushback. Under a normal administration, a president having repeated TIAs wouldn't be removed from office, but even a moderate ischemic is likely to impact mental faculties and merit the 25th Amendment being invoked. Vance and Miller know that their federal power consolidation requires continued implementation leading up to the midterms, and Trump's own ego will mean he never lets go willingly. So unless the White House can provide transparent explanation of his health that better fits these circumstances, I'm forced to conclude that they are lying to the American people and hiding that Trump had a stroke. It's time for the press to push on this and get clarity. So we absolutely need the press to ask this exact question. Exact question. He's saying he had a bunch of mini strokes and now he had a mild ischemic stroke. And the symptoms are clear enough where if he were to talk to the press, you could tell something's off, right? Jake Tapper, where's your book on this? Jake Tapper, where's your book? Other people in the media, where are you? It's kind of crazy that there's already been so many signs of massive health issues with Trump, and the media hasn't asked dick about it. This is the same fucking scenario. I mean, everybody made a big deal when it was Biden, but the cover-up under Biden was more the Democratic staffers around him that were trying to cover it up. And then eventually, by the way, the Democrats all were like, yeah, you know what? It's time to move on. They waited till the last minute, but they said, all right, you can't be the one anymore. So with some degree of accountability. On the Republican side, it's not just, Trump's Republican sycophants and staffers around him. It's also the media is not really digging that deep on this. They're not asking questions. Meanwhile, the internet is ablaze with people going, is homie still alive? Like, what's going on here? What is happening? He's never been away from the cameras this long, ever. All right, but we're still not done. So now let me show you this. The new picture of the president with Coach John Gruden is from August 23rd, not today. What's going on? So Trump shared a picture of him golfing with Gruden, but the picture, John Gruden had tweeted about it on August 23rd because that's when he golfed with Gruden. Trump was pretending like it was just the other day, or should I say, Trump's staffers were pretending like this golfing with Gruden just happened the other day. It gets fishy, bro. It gets fishy. There's a massive cover-up going on. All right, we got another one here. Ready? So this was on TikTok. Somebody has an interesting story to share about what happened at Walter Reed.
Oh, somebody just commented this on my last post, and I want to know if anybody has any other confirmation about this. They're saying they were at labor and delivery at Walter Reed, which Walter Reed keeps coming up as a reason why he was maybe staying in D.C. this weekend instead of going to Westminster, New Jersey. Because Walter Reed is in Bethesda, Maryland, which is right outside of D.C. So on Thursday, they were at labor and delivery, and Melania was there randomly taking a tour, roaming the halls of Walter Reed in labor and delivery, and none of the nurses there knew why she was there. There was nobody, the staff was confused as to why she was even there. I mean, this is obviously a valid point, like, would she even be there visiting him? But the fact she could go visit any hospital, and it wasn't like a press thing, a PR photo opportunity, is very weird. But that's another piece to this really weird, bizarre puzzle. Like, what is even happening? I mean, I don't think she's there for affection. I would think she would be there for just confirmation. And like the joy of seeing him hooked up to machines. I think she would get a lot of joy out of that. Yep. But have you guys ever seen any other confirmation about her being at Walter, about her being there on Thursday? Anybody else have any sightings? Because that is very bizarre. The fact she's even in D.C. Like, does she even, usually I thought she stayed as far away as possible. It was in New York.
Then we also have this. J.D. Vance, Don Jr., Melania, Ivanka, and Tiffany haven't posted in over 2 days, which is unheard of. As they say, Melania was spotted at Walter Reed, and Donald Trump hasn't said a word about his friend, Rudy Giuliani. I don't know if you guys saw this. Rudy Giuliani apparently got into a big car accident, and he's in the hospital. He's got real serious injuries. So he's not looking good for Rudy. They had some bullshit part, like, oh, he tried to save a woman who was being assaulted domestically, and then he got into a car accident. Whatever the story is that they're making up here, no, I'm sure this had something to do with him trying to get a sex worker or something, and, whatever. He was doing some fucked up shit, most likely, and then he got into a car accident, a really bad one. Trump hasn't said shit. He also said good night. He tweeted good night at 9:54 yesterday. Meanwhile, this is a guy who's always stays up till 2 a.m., 3 a.m. Something's off, bro. Something is very, very off. And so when you put everything together, the fact that you have, I don't know why J.D. Vance said those cryptic things this week, where he comes, hey, I have full faith and confidence in the president's health, but if I need to step in, I'm more than ready with all the on-the-job training that I had to do. Why are you talking about that now? You're talking about that now at the same time he disappeared from the public eye for the longest he ever has since 2015, and now we get all this speculation about his health, and you guys know, just like anybody who pays attention even at a bare minimum level knows, of course Trump would lie about this relentlessly. He doesn't want to ever appear weak, and he views sickness as weakness. In fact, he tweeted the other day, never felt better. I feel amazing. It's really incredible. I feel so great. And, as Corin said on Kyle and Corin the other day, it's like when Trump wears those hats that say Trump was right about everything. Corin said, that makes me think, motherfucker, you're wrong about everything. And I feel great. I never felt better. That, of course, has the same effect where it's like, how bad is it? How much time is left? That clock is ticking, isn't it, dog? You're really running out of time if you're saying shit like that. And so something's going on. Now, is it the mini strokes and the mild ischemic stroke thing? Possibly. That's possibly the case. I haven't really seen a better explanation to this point. But any other medical experts out there want to comment on this? So I will say, I reached out to a doctor to get their opinion on it. And I sent the whole thread and I said, what do you think of this in your medical opinion? And basically the response was, I don't have enough information to be able to make a diagnosis. I would need more information than this. But then when I followed up and I laid out all of the circumstantial evidence about how this is the longest he's been away from the camera since 2015. Normally he can't help himself. He needs to be seen by the press. He needs to talk to the press. He hasn't done that in a really long time, longest since 2015. You bring up all the ancillary things around it with J.D. Vance saying, I'm ready to step in. As soon as you bring up all the circumstantial evidence, the response basically became, yeah, something's up with his health. I don't know what it is, but something is definitely up with his health. So that's where we're at, y'all. That's where we're at. The press needs to start demanding answers because this is absolutely positively unacceptable. And we're just acting like it's normal. We're just acting like it's normal. My guess is they're really doing their best to try to, whatever, if it is the stroke thing, they're trying to do their best to get rid of all the symptoms that they can before they get him back in front of the cameras again. But if this is as bad as what some people seem to think, he could be fighting for his life, bro. He could actually be fighting for his life. But I just don't know. I don't know yet. There's a lot of stuff there. It's very interesting. There's a lot of speculation we can have. Like, I'm all over that. But there's always that thing in the back of my head, which is like, this man's like the fucking plague. He's never going to go away. As Crystal says, I don't think he's ever going to die. Because it certainly feels like that. How, he's 158 years old and he's popping Adderalls and giving, 12 rally speeches a day and he never shuts the fuck up and all that stuff. It feels like, oh my God, we're never going to be rid of this guy. But I don't know, man. It's certainly not looking good for the big, wet, beefy boy. He's struggling with something, and we would like to know the specifics and get some answers. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.